It started with a decision, swift, cold, and unmistakably royal. King Charles III, facing a monarchy under pressure, made a move no one saw coming. He cut ties. Royal titles stripped. Royal lodge threatened. The message was clear: no more sanctuary for the past. And Sarah Ferguson, Duchess of York? She was caught in the crossfire. 4 years, Fergie had walked the line, not quite royal, not quite exiled. She showed up at weddings, smiled in photos, stayed loyal to Prince Andrew, even when the world recoiled. But this time, the rug was pulled without warning. And now, insiders say she's had enough. Because behind the palace walls, a rumor is growing louder. Sarah Ferguson is planning a $1 million tell-all interview. Not a memoir. Not a podcast. A televised, sit-down revenge. For the world to see. The timing, no coincidence. The tone, calculated. The motivation, decades in the making. She's done playing loyal. Done swallowing protocol. Now she wants to speak, not for scandal's sake, but for her own. And with just one interview, she could unravel 1,000 carefully placed royal stitches. Because when a woman who stayed silent for this long finally decides to talk, it's not just words. It's war. From the moment she entered the royal spotlight, Sarah Ferguson was never quite the perfect fit. She laughed too loudly, spoke too freely, danced too close to the edge. But for a time, the monarchy needed her, or at least, it tolerated her. In 1986, she married Prince Andrew. The Queen herself reportedly welcomed her energy, her warmth, her unconventional spark. They were young, popular, relatable. But the fairy tale didn't last. Within 6 years, the marriage was over. And the monarchy turned cold. Fergie became tabloid fodder. Every misstep magnified. Every headline a scar. There were scandals, from financial blunders to infamous toe-sucking photos that made global headlines. She was mocked, sidelined, whispered about. But she didn't disappear. She stayed in the orbit, raising Beatrice and Eugenie, supporting Andrew, and occasionally reappearing at royal events like a ghost the firm couldn't quite exorcise. In public, she smiled. In private, she struggled. While other royals retained status, titles, and protection, Sarah built her own life. Books, interviews, business ventures. Some flopped. Some thrived. But through it all, she remained fiercely loyal. To Andrew. To the Queen. To the idea that maybe one day, she'd be welcomed back, not just tolerated, but trusted. And for a while, it seemed possible. Until King Charles took the crown. And everything changed. Because Charles doesn't do sentiment. He does order. Clean slates. Tight ships. And Sarah Ferguson, with all her history, her scandals, her stubborn proximity to Prince Andrew, no longer fit the new royal mold. So when the shock came, when Royal Lodge was threatened and her royal proximity effectively erased, it wasn't just a rejection. It was a message. Your time here is over. But Sarah, she doesn't go quietly. Every monarch leaves a mark. For King Charles III, that mark is control. And one of his first, boldest moves as king? Drawing a line through the past. That meant addressing the unresolved and uncomfortable legacy of his brother, Prince Andrew. But with that came collateral damage. And Sarah Ferguson was at the center of it. It began with the Royal Lodge, the sprawling Windsor residence Andrew had occupied for years. A 30-room estate steeped in tradition, privilege, and now, scandal. When Charles became king, the message was clear. Royal grace is not a lifetime guarantee. Prince Andrew was told to leave. No exceptions. No appeals. The eviction wasn't just about property. It was about symbolism. Cutting ties. Cleaning house. But Sarah Ferguson lived there too. She had reportedly spent years redecorating, settling into a life of post-scandal quiet alongside Andrew. They weren't remarried, but they were companions, still raising their family, still sharing space. And suddenly, that space was under threat. Then came another blow. Stripped affiliations. Royal charities cutting ties. Honorifics withdrawn. The Duchess of York, once tolerated, was now being squeezed out of every royal corridor she had left. And the reason? Not a news scandal. Just politics. A palace insider reportedly put it bluntly. The king wants no more distractions. Sarah Ferguson was a distraction. So, she was removed. No thank you. No explanation. Just silence. And for a woman who had given decades of quiet loyalty, it felt like betrayal. But betrayal doesn't always breed silence. Sometimes, it breeds revenge. And now, the world is hearing whispers of a response, one that could cost the palace far more than a Windsor residence ever did. When silence ends, the world listens. And Sarah Ferguson knows it. In the days following King Charles's power move, something shifted. Not just inside the palace, but inside her. Sources close to the Duchess began whispering about offers. Not small ones. Not tabloids. Major networks. Global platforms. Streaming giants. All asking the same thing. Will you talk? And more importantly, what's your price? The figure floated. $1 million. That's not for fiction. That's for the truth, her truth. What really happened in the Royal Lodge. How deeply she was impacted by Andrew's fall. What she witnessed inside the firm, during the Queen's final years, during the Epstein storm, during her own exile. And what she thinks of the man now wearing the crown. It wouldn't be the first time she's opened up. But this time would be different. Because this time, the gloves come off. No more tiptoeing around palace protocol. No more polished soundbites or vague royalisms. This would be a real interview. The kind that makes headlines for weeks. That gets clipped, quoted, dissected. And the palace isn't ready. Because while Harry and Meghan took their story to Oprah, shaking the institution with personal revelations, Sarah knows more. She's seen more. She survived longer. She was cast out and clawed her way back. And now, they've cast her out again. So the question isn't just whether she'll take the deal. It's whether the palace can survive it if she does. Because a $1 million interview isn't just business. It's a warning shot. There's a reason the palace fears Sarah Ferguson's voice. Because unlike the others, she's still inside. Not in title. Not in duty. But in knowledge. She knows the rhythms of royal life. The whispered conversations behind closed doors. The deals made in drawing rooms, and the ones never spoken of again. And most dangerously, she knows what they've kept hidden. In 2025, her name surfaced once again in headlines. Not for her words, but for an email. An email allegedly linked to the Epstein case. Charities began cutting ties. Sponsors backed away. The Duchess, once tentatively welcomed back into royal proximity, found herself once again isolated. But unlike the first time, back in the 1990s, she wasn't a naive Duchess anymore. She was a survivor. And she had kept receipts. Insiders say Sarah has long maintained a detailed personal archive. Emails, letters, documents. Not to sell, but to protect. Because when you've been exiled once, you learn to prepare for the second blow. And that blow may have just come from Charles. What could Sarah say if she accepts the $1 million interview? Details about Andrew's legal strategy. Her communications with Epstein-linked figures. Her views on the palace's internal handling of abuse allegations. How much the Queen really knew. And how much King Charles did and said once she was gone. Then there's the money. Sarah's financial struggles have been public for years. From book debts to failed endorsements, she's rarely been far from financial strain. A $1 million payday doesn't just help her. It frees her. From dependency. From silence. From fear. And once she's free, the truth, her version, could reshape the monarchy's narrative forever. Because in royal circles, silence is gold. And Sarah might finally be ready to cash in. In the palaces of Britain, where decorum is doctrine and reputation is everything, Sarah Ferguson is now a liability. A wild card. Unpredictable. Uncontrolled. And for King Charles, that may be the most dangerous kind of threat. Because while the monarchy has weathered scandals before, from Diana's heartbreak to Harry and Meghan's media storm, Sarah's potential tell-all is different. Why? Because she's not outside the system. She's not a rebel prince across the Atlantic. She's not a journalist or outsider trying to expose from afar. She's been inside. At the table. In the rooms. Trusted, then discarded. And now, if she speaks, it won't be theoretical. It will be eyewitness. Every institution fears the insider who's no longer loyal. And Charles? He knows the damage she could do. The firm is already fragile. Andrew's scandal nearly shattered it. Meghan and Harry's revelations cracked its image worldwide. If Sarah drops names, if she recounts confidential conversations, if she contradicts the carefully curated story of royal unity, it could spark a constitutional storm, one that undermines public support just when Charles is trying to cement his reign. And yet, he can't silence her. She's no longer officially royal. He can't control her purse strings. He can't issue royal decrees. All he has is influence, and that may not be enough. Insiders say the palace has already begun behind-the-scenes outreach. Advisors checking in. Lawyers reviewing past agreements. A quiet push to delay or dissuade the interview from ever happening. But Sarah holds the cards now. And the king? He may be watching his crown from the edge of a media minefield. Because the monarchy doesn't fear scandal, it survives that. What it fears is credibility. And Sarah Ferguson has 30 years of it, waiting to be heard. The value of a royal secret isn't measured in whispers. It's measured in millions. And Sarah Ferguson's potential interview? It's already being called the crown jewel of confessions. Media giants are circling. Streaming platforms. Primetime news anchors. Producers who know the power of pain mixed with palace intrigue. Because this isn't just gossip. It's legacy. It's betrayal. It's a woman on the edge of royalty, finally stepping into the spotlight. And they know, if Sarah talks, the world will listen. Think about it. Netflix turned Harry and Meghan's grievances into a global phenomenon. Oprah's couch became a courtroom for royal perception. Even dramatizations like The Crown draw hundreds of millions of eyes. But this would be real. Unfiltered. Uncontrolled. And the payout reflects that. Offers reportedly exceed $1 million. Some packages include book deals, documentary tie-ins, even live event tours. Because Sarah Ferguson isn't just a duchess with a story. She's a brand. The survivor. The outcast turned icon. The scandalized royal who never truly left. And now, as whispers of her interview swirl, the public is leaning in. Some see revenge. Others see redemption. All see ratings. But for Sarah, it's more than spectacle. It's timing. She didn't strike when Andrew's scandal exploded. She didn't cash in when Harry and Meghan opened the floodgates. She waited. And now that King Charles has closed the door on her future, she's opening a window to everything she's held back. And whether she does it for money, for vindication, or simply because she's tired of being the royal world's punchline, one thing is clear. This story won't stay silent much longer. At the heart of every royal scandal, there's a question of power. Not just who holds it, but who dares to speak when it's taken away. For decades, Sarah Ferguson played the role. The fallen duchess. The loyal ex. The woman who stayed just close enough to the crown to be useful, but never close enough to be respected. She endured headlines that would have crushed others. Bankruptcy. Tabloid humiliation. Public exile. But she stayed silent. For her daughters. For Andrew. For the Queen. And now, the Queen is gone. Andrew is disgraced. The door to her last sanctuary has been slammed shut. And Sarah Ferguson, for the first time in years, is free. Free to tell the truth. Free to speak her pain. Free to let go of the palace's code of silence. So what comes next? $1 million interview might sound like revenge. And maybe, in part, it is. But it's also a reckoning. Not just for Sarah, but for the monarchy. Because every institution that silences people eventually faces the echo of what it tried to suppress. And if Sarah talks, she won't just be reclaiming her voice. She'll be rewriting her story. From scandal to survivor. From royal cautionary tale to the woman who outlasted them all. But will it bring justice? Or just more fire? Will the public see truth or treason? Will it burn bridges forever? Or finally clear the smoke? Only one person can decide. And she's already proven. She doesn't take orders anymore. Will Sarah Ferguson actually speak out, and what might she reveal? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next chapter in this royal saga.